Hello and welcome to another episode of this is not the scoop. This is Turin Giants post-game episode for Juventus Borussia Dortmund. Welcome all. We have a pretty packed house for you. My name is Zach. I'm joined here by Kevin, Frederic, a new friend, Jesus from Denmark, and Farhad, who cannot figure out his audio situation. The man who has been a part of this podcast now for over a decade. So it's our goal here today, bring you some news, definitely some post-game analysis. We know preseason games, there's only so much you can get out of them, but I think we saw a really good showing. And then maybe shoot the shit a little bit. But before that, let's get into our intro music. And I don't know who's going to play that for me today because I don't know if Farhad can hear me, but let's do it. We're not going to play that again, are we?
No, we are definitely not.
This is very much a preseason episode, isn't Kevin? It's
we're working out our own kinks here. We're getting our fitness in. We're doing 2-a-day sessions, 2 hours in the morning, running drills, and 2-hour scrimmages in the afternoon. Clearly, we need some more training. But no, pleasure to be with you guys today. So Zach, who kindly kicked things off, has asked me, Kevin, to step in and guide some things. And maybe Farhad will have the opportunity to join us if he can figure out his audio and mic situations. But regardless, we've got a great group here. The main focus for today's discussion will be reflecting on Frederic's firsthand experience at Dortmund, getting to see the yellow wall, albeit in a preseason match, but just a stadium that I've always wanted to personally experience and really look forward to getting your perspective on that game. And I know it was so cleanly organized and you got there with plenty of time.
It was horrible. I'm not gonna lie about it. This is my third visit to Dortmund. I went when it was the Westfalenstadion, and I went 2 times when it was Signal Iduna Park. And this was by far the worst. Like I arrived in the nick of time. Well, I arrived 2 hours pre-kickoff, but lost a good hour and a half with parking issues and traffic jams and friendly German people who guide you to the city center and to a parking space. So yeah, it wasn't the most happy time to arrive, especially I had my 2 girls with me and they were just like la 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 la. Let's get going. So it was a bit stressful at that point, but yeah, like I said, the stadium is nice. It was a friendly atmosphere. It was a lot of mixed supporters in both segments of the stadium. And it was everything a pre-season friendly should be, like a bit of banter, a bit of um, friendship between both supporter sides, and a lot of respect on and off the pitch. So in terms of that, it was a great experience to behold.
Fantastic. So before we get into more of that, let's just take care of a few items. So this will be coming to you through all major podcast providers, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and others. I don't know what others there might be, but I'm sure you're hitting one of those three. We're also recording this with video. So if you are watching this on Spotify, you can catch the video. This will be posted to YouTube later. We are not recording this session live. But if you haven't checked out our YouTube channel, please check that out at Turin Giants Official. We'll be coming to you live throughout a lot of this upcoming season. This is a channel and medium we're putting a lot of energy and effort into, and it's been a ton of fun to interact with the people who have joined live and providing some chat and conversation. We're still trying to figure out what the best time is. Like, we have a global audience here at Turin Giants, and we're touching a lot of different time zones. So we'll be experimenting with that as the new season progresses. You should definitely check us out on our socials, primarily on Instagram, where we invite the conversation to continue, at Turin Giants. And is it just the Scoop or Turin Giants the Scoop? Keep me honest.
It's the Scoop Juve.
The Scoop Juve. So the Scoop Juve, where Zach and Frederic have been hosting this amazing segment throughout the summer, bringing us kind of the raw news and just like cutting through the noise on anything related to Juve transfers. If you haven't been listening to that, definitely tune in, catch some of the latest episodes, and you can follow that Instagram page. Last thing here, we have a new joiner, as Zach announced. Jesus coming to us from the beautiful city of Copenhagen, one of the favorite cities I've ever been to. Absolutely incredible. Danish people are amazing. Copenhagen has such an incredible food scene and just beautiful, beautiful place. Jesus, how are you? Welcome to the pod.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself? How you tell us about just you being a Juventino, what the club means to you, any notable experiences you've had. Let's just tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm originally from Venezuela, so I'm a bit of funny guy in that sense. I moved to Europe when I was 10 years old, 20 years ago. I'm Venezuelan. I hold an Italian passport, so that's how I got here. And I've been a Juventus fan since '99. A family member of mine brought back the third kit from that season as a gift, and it wasn't even intended for me. I just fell in love with it at first sight. And just
remind us what was on the third kit in '99.
The third kit in '99 was the one with the digital plus. Has stars on the shoulders, and just white, the third kit. It's beautiful. I still have it to this day. Still play football in it from time to time whenever I'm doing just like a pickup game or something.
Fantastic.
Doesn't look as well as it did previously, but still lives.
We're looking at 20 plus years of aging there, so that's to be
expected. Yeah. That's the thing. But not yet. I mean, Juventus has been with me since thick and thin, and I think the funny thing about it is that nobody in Denmark, there's so few Juventus fans, and to have to go through that experience when everyone else is very much Premier League oriented. You have your Manchester United, the neighborhood that I grew up in is called Brøndby, and they have like a historical link somehow with Liverpool, so there's a bunch of Liverpool fans. Mm-hmm. And I had to sit there and defend Juventus through the Calciopoli era. And I think that was character building for me, like it cupped, like it was like a testing ground for me, like my rite of passage as a man. But yeah, I mean, I've been to the stadium to a couple of games. Last one, it's been a long time since. I think it was the 19th season where we played against Roma 1-0, thanks to a goal from Mandzukic.
We might surprise you, Jesus, but if I'm not mistaken, last time I looked at least, our fourth or fifth highest listener group from a country standpoint is Denmark. So we might have a sleeper community of Denmark Turin Giants Juventus fans.
I mean, I'm part of like a little Facebook community here. It's quite fun. It's not as active as it was back in our heyday, like 5, 6, 7 years ago. but still exists, is there, and good guys. Yeah.
Well, we're happy to have you, and it's always a lot of fun
Thank
to
you.
bring on fans and other Juventini from around the world. And thanks for representing both Venezuela and Denmark. So in the background here, if you see us, if you're watching this on video and you see us kind of smiling, it's Farhad is not having a good afternoon. I think he's joined and rejoined the StreamYard environment here 4 or 5 different times. Poor guy can't get his AV situation fixed. So he may join us, he may not, but the show goes on. So as Zach mentioned, right, we're going to spend a lot of time talking about Juve's, well, what started off as looking like what was going to be a challenging watch ended up being quite an interesting match. So I'm definitely excited to talk about this one and get Freddie Scoops's firsthand take of the match. There's some transfer situations that I think we want to talk about, and just anything else anybody's brought to the episode. We'll round it out there. We're going to keep this a little bit tighter this time. We all have some personal kind of things to get to, but looking forward to the dialogue. Frederic, if you were to summarize your stadium, so not talking about the game, the stadium experience, if you were to summarize that in just a couple sentences, how would you capture it?
I'd say that, I had a blast, but it was pretty disorganized from my point of view, from parking to, making sure that which section you needed to be at, because there was no specific directions, because I think it was a friendly game, so they weren't too bothered about who went where, and they were just bothered about filling the seats, which I can understand, for a friendly. But still, you have to take into account that, I drove all the way throughout Belgium and the Netherlands and a part of Germany to arrive there, only to be stressed out about the parking situation and things like that. So that was a bit of a hassle. Um, but apart from that, like, it was very friendly. Like the Dortmund fans were really helpful. There was no tension. They had a nice scenery set out for their special game yesterday, and a lot of Juventini there. I think we were touching 2,500, which is the maximum capacity of the away section at that point. So that was pretty cool, and it was a crowd of 83,000 people. So nice experience, but it wasn't like tense or
Which is
anything.
like double the Allianz, just
Yeah.
for perspective.
Yeah, indeed. But it wasn't tense, not in a good way, but also not in a bad way. Like tenseness between rivalry fans, you didn't have any of that, but you didn't have like the tension on the pitch, off the pitch, like that necessity to go move forward to create something. That was a bit lacking, but before going in, because it's a preseason friendly. But I could say it was a nice experience. But the first 2 times that I went were games with a lot more at stake, and you could feel a lot more of the atmosphere. So I definitely recommend anybody in and around Europe, if you have a chance to visit the Signal Iduna Park, go for it. It's an amazing experience. Just make sure you arrive in time to avoid any parking issues. You could take into account that you'll spend an hour or two driving around the city center, honking at angry German fans. But apart from that, it's an amazing experience.
All right. So what about the game? So let's kind of get everybody's perspective on the match. But Fred, you've got the priority here. So if you kind of zoom out and look at the match holistically, what are you left with today, thinking about and reflecting on the game?
It was a bit of a, up and down effect, as you could tell from the chat that we had while I was there. We started out poorly, a bit disorganized, I felt too. Um, so I had some issues in the first 15 to 20 minutes. Then everything suddenly clicked a bit more. We had a bit more possession. We were a bit more dangerous and creative, which I like. We used our wingers a lot more. You could see Kefren opening up the play a bit more. Loka being the Loka that we knew last season, calm and composed, and even under pressure. You could see flashes of talent in Kenan's actions. You could see a striker, lo and behold, hold the ball. It was for me. It was yeah. I mean, I see Jesus today. I saw him yesterday too when I saw David holding up the ball and keeping the defense of the opposing team uh, at a struggle. So that was nice to see. But I still feel that there's a lot of work to be done, especially in uh, performance and endurance and physicality. And the thing that I take away most from yesterday's game is that we communicate a lot more. I don't know if you noticed this while watching it on TV, but you could actually see a lot of players pointing, giving directions. At one point, I think it was Kevin Turan, who was actually like reading a sort of a playbook in the midfield and alerting everyone. Like he was yelling like in your back. Like he was talking English to David at a certain point when he was yelling at him. He was yelling things in Italian to Loca, and he was speaking French with Kalulu. All just and that was amazing to see. So there's a lot of work. We miss some attributes and some key players, I think, in certain roles, which is not something that we should be marveled or amazed by. But I saw a lot more than I did the last, let's say, 5 games of the end of last year. And this was just a friendly. So I just hope that we can keep those positives coming and that we grow a bit more and that we get some um, people in to help us, be a force to be reckoned with, and that we can work on the physical aspects because that was really a sight for sore eyes. I'm not gonna lie. There were some players who I thought, like Kelly, for instance. I'm not a big fan of Kelly, but you could actually see that he was gasping for air after 11 or 12 minutes. And for somebody who's a professional football player at that level and earns that much money, I don't think you have any right to be gasping for air after 11 minutes in your first serious friendly game of the season, in all honesty.
So, Zach, anything that you observed that's different or incremental to what Frederic shared?
When in a preseason game, you're not worried whether you win or lose, or at least I'm not. You want to see patterns of play that are demonstrating the coach's vision that you can then translate into wins in the regular season. And I think we saw two sides of Juventus, like Frederic said, and I'm going to focus more so on the latter part. After the first 15 or 20 minutes, when we were able to start linking in our front three, Juventus was able to actually implement how they wanted to play. Prior to that 20-minute mark, and I have it written down here, Thuram had 1 touch. Yildiz had 4 touches. Chico had 6 touches. David had 5 touches. I mean, that's not even passes. They just were not involved. And I think
Buongiorno,
that's
buongiorno, 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 buongiorno. Come ha detto lei, buongiorno, buongiorno.
turn him off. Thank you.
Oh,
I'll just leave it at that.
Hey, Jesus. So after you caught the match live, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just making sure. Probably should have clarified that ahead of time. But so today, just letting the game digest a bit. Like, what are you walking away from? What are you walking away with, rather?
Honestly, I love to see David play. Even though he wasn't as involved as maybe like someone would have expected, I really enjoyed the way that he timed his runs. He made some really good runs, like off the ball, uh, waiting to receive. He tracked back. So for me, that was like refreshing to see compared to certain other strikers that we've had on the pitch. Besides that, honestly, given that it was a friendly, even though it was a friendly with a team of a higher stature, I think it was a fine game. A bit exposed in the back at times. I think there was some naivete when changing to the defensive phase. But those are things that I expect to be ironed out throughout the course of the preseason. Yeah.
You touched on actually something, Jesus, that I think is kind of important because, and this is more so contrasting Tudor's style with maybe what we are might remember from Allegri or, God forbid, Motta's tenure, is that you're going to see a little bit more man-to-man under Tudor. And so sometime, against Motta, with Motta's coach, or certainly with Allegri, when we're in a defense, you'll see these like clear blocks, 4-1, 4-1 in a defensive block or something. You won't see that as much under Tudor, who will employ midfield traps and man-to-man defending. And so at times, I almost kind of had to stop and take a look at the match because it looked like we were maybe losing defensive formation because it was sort of this haphazard group of defenders. But I think actually we employed that man-to-man and those midfield traps really well, to the point where Dortmund at home in a testimonial match had fewer shots and shots on goal than we did, despite their possession. That being said, at times these will fail you, and that's where Tudor's teams in the past have gotten burned and kind of bled goals. So it's something we're going to need to watch. But I think yesterday, we did a really good job at employing sort of the Tudor style of defense, if I might call it that.
Might I add a little certain things? I noticed that Tudor, at certain points when the game stopped, there were like these drinking intervals and whatnot, and you had the Hummels tribute and whatever. He was pretty pissed off. Like he had like a couple of rants towards certain players, towards certain situations, and we know that Tudor is not the coolest cucumber of them all in general, but I have to say that it surprised me because there's not a lot at stake at that point at this game. You can only learn from certain things, but he was really, really tense, really aggravated. So the thing that I take away from that is that he's not as calm as we think he should be for the start of the new season. I think he recognizes the things that are missing within the squad, and he's having difficulties remedying it. So I may get a bit ahead of myself here, but I was really surprised when I saw him like lashing out like that in a friendly game. So I don't know if that counts, but it was mainly pointed towards defenders and Loka.
Are you worried that might play out as like do you think he might get nervous when the season starts to heat up?
Or is it just a method to motivate folks?
I can only speak of what I know, and I know for a fact that he's not particularly happy with the way we're handling incoming and outgoing transfers at this point.
I mean, understandably so. Right?
Yeah.
You see, I actually, I'm frustrated with Comoli, but I also want to trust the process and that he's trying to not make a ton of mistakes and undervalue players. I mean, what I think he was able to do with Weah's situation is actually pretty commendable. I think if the rumors around what Randall Colomwani's potentially accepted package will be, and maybe we can touch on that later, I think that's actually pretty impressive. So but put it from Tudor's perspective, when you know that the team struggled, had clear gaps last season, and all the players that we've been linked to, and at the end of the day, we've signed a bunch of players. We've signed a bunch of players we had already, fulfilling loan obligations. Yes, of course, we bring in Jonathan David on a free, and we've exchanged one Portuguese right wing back for another. So I get Tudor's frustration for sure. But one thing I'm pleased with from yesterday's match, and Frederic, I want to know kind of how you, because the television experience is different from the stadium and from the game experience. And what I really enjoyed to see is last year, we know in many games we had this pointless, aimless possession and just passing for the sake of passing with no conviction, back and forth, unable to break anything down and get any kind of final ball in for any attacking play. I thought yesterday we were incredibly efficient. I think when we had possession, there was real intent and we were able to create plays, or at least we had the intent of creating plays. Some of the finishing aside, just how did that feel from the stadium? Could you see much more conviction and intent with the possession rather than just like passing for the sake of passing?
No, I actually felt that, and I think I quoted or said this in episodes last season. I always had the idea that there were players that were playing with fear. They were struck with fear about, fear of misplacing a ball, not getting onto the end of a pass, or just turning, shooting, whatever you may call it, like fear of failure or whatever. And I didn't see that aspect anymore. They tried to be proactive. They tried, and especially the thing that, or the player that had a certain impact on me yesterday was our new Portuguese winger. Because I know we talk trash. A lot of people talk trash. I think Zach was the only one who kept a cool head and was a bit more rational about the transfer. But he contributed a lot to the second goal. And apart from the second goal, he played very intelligently. And this is something that we need because he has the potential to become a leader on the pitch, something that we're missing for like 2, 3 seasons now. He showed composure, he showed strength, he showed intelligence. And I was really happy that he, came across that way. And in my opinion, played a very decent game for his first game at Juventus. So yeah, the fear aspect's gone, but let's not get ahead of ourselves because once again, this was just preseason friendly, not much at stake. They could afford to misplace passes or whatever. And the thing that struck me a bit too was the fact that Dortmund was very, very poor. They should be further than us in terms of preseason, or at least their season starts sooner than it does in Italy. But they were really, really poor. They were struggling at times. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you say don't take or I'll say this. Don't take away Juventus's performance by chalking it up to Dortmund being poor. I mean, there's cause and effect there to some extent. Juventus actually did clog up a lot of areas in our half to prevent them from having legitimate scoring opportunities. I think the only time they actually looked threatening when the starters were in there, which by the way, both teams retained about 8 of 11 of their starters from last season. So it's not like there was a noticeable difference in terms of who's starting the game. We both played the Club World Cup. So I think there's a lot of parity there other than the fact that they were home. So I say don't take away from Juventus. We did a really good job. The only place they were threatening was on aerial balls, which we know from the first preseason game and from last year we kind of struggle with. So I say instead that Juventus actually showed a level of maturity and cohesion that we didn't at a lot of times last season, which is something that we can build on and roll into the regular season to our advantage. So I take a different, maybe more positive angle, Frederic, when looking at our performance.
No, granted, I'll give you that, but that's what I also meant with the fear aspect missing. I think that we, well, we challenged ourselves, not only Dortmund. I mean, you could see that we tried to be proactive, and that was the thing that was missing, in my opinion, last season, because that's the thing you need to get the other team into a bit of discomfort, by keeping the pressure on, by trying things, by once again just trying a long ball, like Kefren did a lot of times yesterday, which is very un-Kefren in my opinion, because we know that he likes to move up to the front or plays these shorter balls. Yesterday it was a different Kefren, so there was no fear of failure there, and I think that caught Dortmund a bit by surprise too.
Jesus, looks like you want to say something.
No, yeah, I'm just thinking about the game in general, and yeah, it really echoes what Frederick was talking about earlier about seeing players being focused and showing like a positive mentality while on the pitch, something that you might not see as much when you're watching it on TV. But I'd like to like point out there was a moment where Conceição he caused a foul, and Locatelli just like verbally slammed him. I don't know if you guys picked that up.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me goes to show that even though it's a friendly, they know that there's like I feel like there's a mentality shift taking place on some kind of level. I'm not saying that they're mentality monsters all of a sudden, but those things are built on slowly. And it for me was a positive note. And the mental aspect for me is also reflected on the things that you do off the ball, right? Are you concentrated? Are you focused during the games? Are you fulfilling your obligations on the pitch when you don't have the ball? And like part of what makes like Juve had for the first time in a long time played a very vertical ball game, right? Less of horizontal ball dispersal and more focus on let's get to the third half, right? Or the third part of the pitch. And in order for you to do that, you need to open up passing lanes. You need to open up corridors in the opposition's half. And all of the like all of the attacking players, like whether even Kelly was there making runs, dragging a man away, opening up the space, leaving room in the half space for Yildiz to receive the ball. Same for Chico Conceição. So again, like they're going through the right motions, in my opinion.
Was there a player specifically that you'd like to kind of call out and highlight his performance yesterday?
I actually Locatelli. Locatelli for me was the even though Cambiaso did really great, had some great positioning in the way that he got his goals and made a good a good overlap to receive the ball in the channel from Yildiz, but and took the second goal was really good. But Locatelli had a really commanding field day. I mean, he was everywhere. He started the counter attack for the second goal with like a sweeping challenge. Got up, played the ball, got back on it, received it, was tackling, was up in attack. He was everywhere, and yeah.
And he got a lot of accolades from across the Italian papers too. I read some of the headlines and skimmed some of the articles from Tutto Sport and La Gazzetta.
And it's so funny because there's so many people in the public in Italy, they really don't rate Locatelli. And even though of course he's not Pirlo, he's not Marchisio, but he is a really good footballer. And he's a Juventus man at heart.
He is,
and for me that shows on the pitch.
Yeah, I've been very vocal about Locatelli's praises on this podcast, particularly throughout last year, when he has had some very challenged seasons, and I hope, especially with what we saw in the final match against Venezia, just carries forward into this new season. And what's interesting though, like looking at the stats for him yesterday, 66 minutes played, accurate passes, 82%, 42 out of 51, 56 touches. If he had stayed on for the entire match, maybe that's closer to 80 or 90 touches. Interceptions, 1, long balls, passed in the final third, 1. So you actually look at the stats. This isn't one of his better statistical games. But when you look at the performance from what you saw on the pitch, it was very tidy. The link-up play was good, stepping into the defense and helping out when necessary, helping transition the ball forward. So this is one of those performances where the stats doesn't tell kind of the complete story of how he played.
And to add to that, he showed leadership I know we did like the last couple of games last season too, but he showed a lot more mature leadership and balls. Like he was handing out like this is back and forth to Conceição, to Kefren, even to David, who's new, and you'd say, oh, let the guy be. I mean, it's his first game, but no, he was like, no, you run for that ball, you go in for that tackle, you make sure that there's space on your right because we need to play it into Chico's way. So he was actually directing play not only by his feet but also by leadership and showing everybody, look, I'm here, I'm taking over this mantle, and I want this to be our season and my season. And that was, I have to say, for me, an eye-opener, because I began to get a little warmed up to Loka at the end of last season. Started out very
And
skeptically
you've been
as
critical, so
99% of
fair
him.
enough.
I've,
Yeah.
I've been critical,
Yeah.
yes, of course, but
Understandably so.
credits where credits due. I mean, he's evolving into something that we hoped Locatelli would have become sooner. By all circumstances, that didn't happen, but you can see it taking shape now right in front of your eyes, and that's something that we need to be very happy for, because that's something that we lacked a lot last season. So I'm hoping he can continue this positive positive note throughout the whole season, because he'll be of immense value to us in that respect.
So
Quick question.
Please go ahead.
How do you feel about the discussion there is between who should have the armband between him and Bremer?
In all fairness, I think the armband should go to Locatelli. In my opinion, I think he deserves it. He's been with us a couple of seasons now, through bad times and even worse. He hasn't even seen the good times yet, poor fella. So he's stuck by us. I mean, and I know for a fact that he had some offers last season throughout transfer market, which he declined. And in all fairness, there were not bad offerings. He could have doubled his salary. So the fact that he didn't do that and chose to stay true to us to prove his worth speaks volumes about him as a man and a football player. So I have a lot of respect for him in that regard. And the fact that he's doing it right now and he's showing us, or at least he's trying to show us that, to me, I mean, I take my hat off to him. I don't like him as a footballer, his style of play. It's not my cup of tea, because we have to be honest, we were used to Pirlo, Vidal, Marquisio, Kedira, and what have you not. But the way that he's taking up the mantle at this point, and taking ownership and leadership of the team on the pitch, speaks volumes. So I think he deserves the armband, in my
I have to
opinion.
completely back that up. And Frederic, I think that's well said. But I think, Jesus, you also bring up a good point. It's a name we haven't spoken about too much yet. And I think Bremer's on-field and also off-field leadership is something that I think we're all looking forward to this season. Zach, do you want to speak at all to what you saw in Bremer yesterday?
I saw a player who didn't seem to have lost a step or skill. I think there's definitely a match sharpness that's lacking, but I saw no concerns from his play and the way he was directing the defense and the way he engaged in tackles and the like that showed me that his injury would have any long-term effects. And that made me enormously pleased, because his injury last year, just as we've said at nauseum, in some ways derailed our season. Not to blame him; it wasn't his fault. But he's just such an impact player that that's the result of his injury. And to see him back and to getting that match sharpness with the physicality and the ability to read the game, and with his defending ability still intact, it just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about the season ahead.
Did you, like me, also your heart skip a beat when they zoomed in on him with the ref standing over him and grabbing his ankle?
An entire fan base collectively held their breath.
Oh man,
Yeah.
no, not again. Well, obviously it would have been a different injury, but still.
The funny thing is, like, I texted in the group chat about, is he injured or not? And the reason why I asked was because he was there were certain bench players who were warming up at the corner flag, and he was already subbed, and he was walking towards them, and he had like the ice packs taped to his leg, like you wouldn't believe. Like there were 4 or 5 ice packs. So it was something I went, oh shit. So I texted somebody I knew within Juventus, like I don't know, when I returned home, like a couple of hours after, and he said no, it's a precautionary measure because he has a lot of, I don't know how you say it in English, like not swelling, but the scars that he has, like deep tissue scars, that they tend to inflammate very fast after being physical or after having physical duality or whatever not. So they tried to prevent that, and that's also the reason why they sub him, because he wants to stay on the pitch until he collapses. But with regards to
Not
his
worth
coming
it
back and his
in this match.
rehabilitation, it's not worth it. So there's nothing wrong with him, but they cherish his knee at this point, and they want to make sure that we can depend on a decent Bremer at the end of September. So we don't expect him to be fully recovered or able to play like 2 matches a week in the month of August or September, but we do hope that we can start the month of October with him pain free, without any other side effects from his injury.
So let's wrap it up here on the Dortmund match, just with one final kind of talking point, and then we'll move to some transfer news. Jesus, what does a fully fit and on form Cambiaso mean for Juve starting the season?
A fully fit, on form Cambiaso dominates that left wing. For us, it'd be a game changer. I mean, I think that for me as a viewer, that's always been Cambiaso's biggest issue, has been the continuity, the consistency to his game. Because like we all see it, whenever he hits top form, he's unplayable. And I think if we can get him into that top form, then that left side of our team is going to open up defenses. It's going to be super dangerous, and the offensive threat that he carries will be invaluable.
I mean, just think you have Cambiaso, Thuram, Yildiz on the side of the pitch. I mean, that is, if you pick the on form version of them last year, okay, not even talking potential. If you just pick the on form versions of them, I mean, that's arguably world class on that left wing there.
I mean, we saw flashes of that during the
Mm-hmm.
Dortmund game. How they interchanged the small link up play between them. It was great, and I think the cool thing about Cambiaso's position in this Tudor 3-4-2-1 is the fact that his defensive duties aren't the same as they would be with him in a back four.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean he doesn't have to track back. He still does. I mean, he was regularly back there and he ran. That was good, but it frees him up a little bit more to join the attack. I mean, with Kelly is supposed to be his last line of defense, right? He has to back Kelly up. He's not the last man on that side of the pitch. So I think if Tudor sticks to that and doesn't, I've heard some rumors of him wanting to try out the Christmas tree formation. I don't think that would be a good fit, but if we stay like this, might be good.
I'm gonna monkey wrench the shit out of this, but well, how would you guys feel if Cambiaso would leave?
Rather not, but if it's a big fat check.
I mean, if it's like 60, 70 million and we can replace it with somebody who's going to be the same or better and is a young player, then that makes sense. If we're just pocketing the cash and we're going to start Kostic moving forward, then no, that's a fucking horrible idea.
but we talked about this in January.
Yeah.
Everyone on our team has a price tag. We don't want, I mean, as Jesus said, an informed Cambiaso is fantastic, but everyone has a price tag except maybe Yildiz on our team, right? So
I think
if a big fat check comes in,
I think even Yildiz has a price tag. I don't see Juve as this team that can refuse like Godfather style offers. I just
probably
don't
not.
see that.
So there's your answer,
Um,
Frederic. There's your answer.
Yeah, I was just curious because and this uh glides us into the next segment of transfers. I just recently 15 minutes ago found out that
And now,
Newcastle
Freddie
United
Scoops with the scoop. He's the best in the business, see?
really was hoping not to hear that today, but Newcastle United informed about Cambiaso. I'm not sure what Juventus their reply is or what Cambiaso feels about that potential move, but they've contacted Juventus and the agency that represents Cambiaso. So I don't know. It's still early days in August. We still have like 2.5 weeks until transfer deadline, I think. Um, so we'll see.
I mean, all I really at this point personally want to see, and let's fully kind of get into the last kind of moments here focused on transfer news. From my perspective, I want to see the deal for Randall Colomwani to get done and done in a responsible manner with respect to the finances. I'd like to see another center back come in. Dream would be Leone, but I know that's a really hard one to do. And I'd like to see us move on from a couple players as well, which I know will be necessary to fund the two aforementioned ones. I think putting an effort into selling a Cambiaso, replacing a Cambiaso, or trying to bolster the center midfield at this point, no. Like, get those two things done. That's me talking. Frederic is what's the club thinking?
Well, the club is thinking, and it's great that you mentioned this because I had a rather elaborate talk with somebody within the club, and they stated, "Look, our good friend Komoli is a working horse, like he nonstop. He's at it around the clock. He's not the greatest showman in terms of interviewing or whatever, but he just works behind the scenes. He works hard. But the things that he inherited are so dog shit that it's laughable. I mean, not only is he challenged with preposterous wages within the teams and players who don't want to move because of those contracts. He's also being held a bit accountable for the whole mismanagement of finances within our squad. And on top of that, he has financial fair play breathing down his neck because we need to make sure that all those boxes get ticked and add up, or else we'll be confronted with another penalty, be it just or unjust. So he has a lot of work on his hands. He has a lot of pressure on it, but he tries to maintain his cool, work hard, and do things thoroughly with a rationale behind it. Whereas we, in recent years, have just splurged and thought, well, hey, fuck it, let's go. And we obviously noticed that that wasn't working. So, a lot of respect is given to him from people that work closely with him. And that for me speaks volumes. So let the man do his thing. As with regards to Colo, thy will be done, Kevin. It won't be too long before we see Colo back in our shirt. And with regards to center back, our good friend Vega has pulled a Chico Conceição slash Colo Moani move and said he wants to go back to Juventus. He expressed that desire to his agents, to
But is there
Chelsea.
anything behind that, though? It's one thing for him to say, or the rumor mill to pick up that he's interested in it. That doesn't mean anybody's doing anything about it.
No, but Chelsea desperately need to offload some players as regards to financial fair play and just their whole amount of players they have within their squad. So they really need to search for an option. But of course, Chelsea would prefer some cash payments, whether or not in several installments. And Juve will be Juve because of the books and ask for a straight out loan with a potential obligation to buy. The thing is that Chelsea do not consider the loan cost as a part of the transfer, while Juventus says, well, if you want 25 million for this guy and we pay, I don't know, 5 now, then we should have him for 20 next summer. So these are the discussions that are ongoing. But with regards to Vega or the center back position as a whole, we still have 3 or 4 other options, and we have that for every spot in the team that we're searching reinforcements for. We have our plan A, plan B, plan C, and plan D. And the thing that's good to me to hear is that they're not like you go from a player that's worth 90 million to a player that's worth 5 million. They don't think it in financial aspects. They think in terms of potential, about readiness to be there for the team, leadership, technical ability, all those things you should take into account when signing a player. So I just, and I'm gonna repeat myself again, let's please wait for the players to exit before we can get some in, because we need to do that with regards to financial fair play. It's not a Kamoli decision. It's not an Elkan decision. Elkan himself asked FIFA and UEFA if he could do another capital increase, another capital injection. He can't because of financial fair play not adding up. He will be able to do so from January, if I'm not mistaken, or February after the 30th of January.
Mhm.
So we have to, make ends meet for the moment, but rest assured, Kamoli is doing everything he can.
So if you had to make a call now on 3 players leaving, who are the 3 that have the highest opportunity to leave at this point?
Douglas Lewis, Nico Gonzalez, and if I have to pick one, I'd say Vlahovic 2 weeks ago.
You don't see Miretti close to Napoli?
There are talks between Napoli and Moretti, but Juve are amendment on the 20 or 22 million now, not in installments now. I don't know if Napoli can do it if they want it, because they just bought Elmas, I think, back.
Mhm.
They sold Elmas, they now brought him back. It's the same position as Moretti, if I'm not mistaken.
And then there's these
Um,
links to this O'Reilly guy from Brighton, who I don't really
yeah,
know a whole lot
and
about.
We
believe
were
it or
linked to
not,
him last year.
we have a deal with O'Reilly.
Did we lose Frederic?
I didn't know if it was just me.
No, I think we lost Frederic.
I'm sorry, I lost.
Yeah.
I lost.
We had a deal
I'm
with
sorry. I don't know what
O'Reilly
happened.
and keep going.
Well, we have a deal
Yeah.
with O'Reilly. We have a verbal agreement with him, but I don't think I can't see us pushing that that any further. But if we should want him, and I think want in the terms of to replace Douglas Lewis,
Yeah.
I think he's our main pick. But let's wait. I think Komoli has made it very clear that he has other priorities now, being
Yeah.
RKM as the first one and our center back. And
Good.
everything
Well,
else
I'm
at this point
glad.
is a
I'm glad
bonus.
to hear that. I mean, because you look at inevitably in the midfield, there's 2 in the like authentic central midfield positions that should be anchored by Thuram and Locatelli, and then there's Coop Miners, then there's McKennie, then there's Moretti, then there's Douglas Luiz, and I know Coop and Moretti could potentially take those number 10 positions in a rotation. McKennie can play on the outside right as well, which I'm not terribly opposed at if that's how he might be used. I like the athleticism and just tactical difference he brings. Um, but there's just a lot of people for those 2 spots, even though that they can be used flexibly across the squad. It's just why waste energy trying to bring a new person in when we probably need to remove 1 or 2.
And also, I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of surprise names pop up like between now and next week. Because it's very clear that Komoli is really working behind closed doors. Like, he doesn't let anything slip away because the team is so small, which is in our case now an advantage rather than a disadvantage.
Remember when
But
Moji pulled out Cannavaro and Ibrahimovic on the last day, and like nobody saw that coming? I'd love to
Yep.
see surprise like that.
I mean, the
yeah,
best part
Chua,
about Cannavaro was the goalkeeper we gave in return. I always forget his name, but like the Moji scammed the hell out of Inter with that one.
yeah, true. But like, I can see where you're coming from. But those were also, you didn't have financial fair play. You didn't have all these obstacles. You didn't
Sure.
like
The
it
different
was
era.
it was a kind of free for all in terms of that. But kudos to Moji because nobody knew. Like, he pulled it out of his hat the last day, and I wouldn't be surprised if Kamoli did that too. Not in the terms of comparing to the greatness of
That
Ibra and
profile,
Cannavaro, but I think that he'll make sure that the squad gets more balanced, because that was one of the things Zach and I talked about last season as well. I think you too, Kevin, that we lack balance, and you can see that he's trying to mend that. And I'm not going to say that we're going to sign Chouameni or anything, but I think he'll try to give us some quality injections for a good price, because we saw that he can negotiate. I mean, the way I deal for me was sublime financially. I think we got a good deal out of that. Mbangula a bit less, in my opinion, but overall, I'm pretty happy with what he's done thus far. He's done little, but he's done good things. Whereas Juntoli brought in like a player a week last season and gave away another player, but in overall terms, it didn't help us as a team nor as a club. So I'd rather have a guy at the helm of everything, who makes concise decisions with a vision and something that we can look forward to in the future. So I'm all for it.
Zach, what can listeners expect to hear from the Scoop between now and the end of the transfer season?
We'll do the best we can. I mean, we were hoping for for the sake of the show, an active transfer market, which has not manifested yet. But we'll do the best we can to keep everyone updated with what's going on as things kind of come to a head here towards the end, as we get closer to the end of the market. We'll have a lot more information for folks.
All right.
And we'll have one this week. I can promise you that. I'm not sure on the timeline yet, because that's something Zach and I need to discuss internally. But we'll have one this week, if not two, Zach. If not two.
It's that's the face that Zach makes when he knows he's got a rough work calendar this week. So for those watching on video, for those not, he had a very confused look at Frederic's statement there.
We'll do the best we can. That's all I.
But as the episodes continue to the buildup of the start of the season, Farhad has secured us the Turin Giants hotline. So if you want to leave us a question, of course, you can always contact us, on Instagram. But if you want to call and leave a message, you can call that. I assume this is a US-based number, so that would be +1 630-426-9290. Repeating that, +1 630-426-9290. I'm sure nobody wrote that down, so we'll make sure Farhad posts that on Instagram as well. But that's just another way we're trying to engage with the audience. If that's something that you want to take advantage of, we'd love to field your questions, both for the Scoop and on the Turin Giants episodes. So I think leading towards the build up to the season, as Frederic promised, at least a couple more Scoop episodes. I know Farhad is planning a season preview kind of in or around August 22nd. And then following the first match, we need to find time to do a post-match recap. I am fortunate enough that I will go to that game. So I will be at Juve Parma. So I'll be able to offer my firsthand experience and account from that match. Guys, before we wrap, any closing comments? Anything we overlooked? Go ahead, Jesus.
Nothing from me.
No, I'm going to leave the floor to Jesus.
Do you feel comfortable with the right wing position?
That's a loaded question.
That is a subject for an entire episode in itself. We were generous, I think, with João Mario today, and we didn't talk about backups. But when Frederic was talking about balance, that was the first position over center back that I thought of, because we aren't hearing nothing about that position. So we'll save that one, Jesus, for another time.
I mean, if it's going to be João Mario and McKennie, I feel better than it being João Mario and McKennie going out and us not having a backup. But that still feels a bit leave something to be desired.
I think we're looking for a player defensively now that can be a center back as well as a right back.
Okay.
I think that's
Isn't that Kalulu though? Like that's literally Kalulu.
Yeah, but if you put Kalulu like right, then you need somebody to fill in a center back spot if you play
Captain
on Twitter.
Katz. All right, decided. I solved
that-
everything.
that was quite the heavy question to part with.
Yeah.
But Jesus, it's been an
A
absolute
teaser for you guys next time.
yeah. Well, we love it. Now it's a good
I'll look into that
question
as well.
and something that definitely warrants further discussion and debate. Jesus, it was an absolute pleasure having you join us. We learned a bit about you, and thanks for offering what thought was some really good commentary and perspective. So thank you. Zach, Frederic, anything else from you guys?
Stay
Not for
tuned.
me. Yes, absolutely.
All right. Pleasure as always.
Thank you.
Fino alla fine.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it.
Until next time, Fino alla. Wow. All right. I need to do some more training here.
That's okay.
Catch you guys
got you.
later.
Fino alla fine.
Oh, man.
Purple Finest.